Hey y'all, it's Kim. So this is the charges against Kilmar Abrego Garcia. It says United States District Court for the Middle District of Tennessee, Nashville Division. This was filed in U.S. District Court, Middle District of Tennessee, May 21st, 2025. And then I guess the docket number 325 or whatever 00115. And then United States of America versus Kilmar Armando Abrego Garcia. Indictment. The grand jury charges introductory allegations at all times material to this indictment unless otherwise indicated, from in or around 2016 through in or around 2025, Kilmar Armando Abrego Garcia and others known and unknown to the grand jury conspire to bring undocumented aliens to the United States from countries such as Guatemala, El Salvador, Honduras, Ecuador, and elsewhere, ultimately passing through Mexico before crossing into Texas. The co-conspirators knew the undocumented aliens did not possess authorization to enter the United States. Kilmar Armando Abrego Garcia and co-conspirators from El Salvador, Guatemala, Mexico, United States, and elsewhere communicated with each other using cellular telephones and social media applications to facilitate the unlawful transport of undocumented aliens without authorization to and throughout the United States. Garcia and co-conspirators collected financial payments from undocumented aliens for illegal transportation into and throughout the United States. The co-conspirators then knowingly transferred money between one another in an effort to conceal the origin of the payment. CC1, CC2, CC3, CC4, CC5, all persons known to the grand jury, so co-conspirators, were co-conspirators with Kilmar Abrego Garcia. Anyway, all were citizens of El Salvador, and all were not United States citizens. CC6, also a person known to the grand jury, was a citizen of Guatemala and not a United States citizen. Kilmar Armando Abrego Garcia was a citizen of El Salvador, was not a United States citizen, was living in the United States. Kilmar Armando Abrego Garcia was also a member and associate of the transnational criminal organization La Mara Salvatrucha. Sorry if that's messing that up, but whatever. Otherwise known and hereinafter referred to as MS-13. MS-13 was a criminal enterprise engaged in, among other activities, acts and threats involving murder, extortion, narcotics trafficking, firearms trafficking, illegal or alien smuggling, money laundering. MS-13 operated throughout North and Central America, including in El Salvador, Guatemala, Mexico, the United States, including in Texas, Maryland, New York, Tennessee, and elsewhere. Garcia, as detailed further below, used his status in MS-13 to further his criminal activity. Over the course of the conspiracy, the co-conspirators knowingly and unlawfully transported thousands of undocumented aliens who had no authorization to be present in the United States, and many of whom were MS-13 members and associates. The co-conspirators also worked with transnational criminal organizations in Mexico to transport undocumented aliens throughout Mexico and into the United States. Count 1, 8 USC subsection 1324 A1A VI, whatever. Conspiracy to transport aliens. 8 paragraphs 1 through 7 are incorporated by reference and realleged as if fully set forth herein. 8. The conspiracy between in or around 2016 and 2025 in the Middle District of Tennessee and elsewhere, Kilmar Armando Abrego Garcia did combine, conspire, confederate, and agree with CCs 1 through 6 and others known and unknown to the grand jury to knowingly and in reckless disregard of the fact that certain aliens had come to and entered and remained in the United States in violation of law, transport and move said aliens within the United States by means of transportation otherwise in furtherance of such violation of law, with intent to further the unlawful presence of the aliens in the United States and for private financial gain, in violation of Title 8 United States Code sections 1324, A1A, 2, and B1, or BI, whatever. B, manner and means. 10, in or around 2016, shortly after meeting with other CC1 and Kilmar, Abrego, Garcia, agreed to work together to transport undocumented aliens for profit and private financial gain. Co-conspirators outside the United States facilitated the travel of undocumented aliens from El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, Ecuador, Mexico, and elsewhere to illegally cross the United States border into Texas without inspection. CC6 was one of the primary sources of supply of undocumented aliens for the conspiracy, and many of the undocumented aliens supplied by CC6 included MS-13 members and associates. Garcia and CC1 ordinarily picked up the undocumented aliens in the Houston, Texas area shortly after the aliens had unlawfully crossed the southern border of the United States from Mexico. Garcia and CC1 then transported the undocumented aliens from Texas to other parts of the United States to further the aliens' unlawful presence in the United States. During the course of the conspiracy, CC1 was incarcerated for alien smuggling and was deported from the United States. During the period, CC2, at the direction of CC1, began working with Garcia to transport undocumented aliens for profit. After CC1 was released from prison and deported, CC1 illegally re-entered the United States and returned to work with Garcia, CC2, and other co-conspirators to transport undocumented aliens for profit. In addition to transporting undocumented aliens, Garcia, CC1, and CC2 occasionally and simultaneously transported firearms illegally purchased in Texas for distribution and resale in Maryland. In addition to transporting undocumented aliens and firearms at times, Garcia occasionally and simultaneously transported undocumented aliens and narcotics purchased in Texas for distribution and resale in Maryland. Sounds like a real upstanding guy, you guys. On some occasions, members and associates of MS-13 in Maryland accompanied Garcia on his trips to transport undocumented aliens in Texas to other parts of the United States. On various occasions throughout the conspiracy among the undocumented aliens, Garcia and his co-conspirators transported from Texas to other parts of the United States were MS-13 members and associates. Garcia and CC1 regularly required the undocumented aliens they transported to pay Garcia and CC1 in cash for facilitating their transport throughout the United States. The MS-13 members and associates transported by CC2 refused to pay CC2 for his transportation services, but the MS-13 members and associates Garcia transported generally treated Garcia with respect and also paid him for his transportation services. Co-conspirators later transferred via Western Union and other means at least some of these monies derived from the unlawful transportation within the United States to other co-conspirators in foreign countries such as Mexico and Guatemala as part of the wider alien smuggling operation. CC3 on multiple occasions, along with Garcia and CC1, transported undocumented aliens within the United States. CC3 also received and transferred payments from undocumented aliens derived from the unlawful transportation within the United States and in furtherance of the conspiracy. CC4 and CC5 received and transferred thousands of dollars of criminal proceeds derived from the conspiracy by wire to and from other co-conspirators, both within and outside of the United States. CC1 also directed CC6 and other co-conspirators, known and unknown to the grand jury, to transfer money to other individuals by wire for a fee to obscure the recipient of the money. CC6 also transferred criminal proceeds by wire to CC4 in an effort, in part, to protect operational security and conceal their illegal alien smuggling operation. Garcia, CC1, and CC2 varied their transportation routes within the United States. Garcia, CC1, and CC2 also routinely took the undocumented alien cell phones they transported within the United States, and they provided them back to the undocumented aliens at the end of the trip. They did this to ensure the undocumented aliens could not and would not contact anyone else during the trip. Garcia, CC1, and CC2 transported undocumented aliens in an unsafe manner, including using reconfigured vehicles with aftermarket unattached seating rows, and they transported children on the floorboards of vehicles in order to maximize profits. As a part of the conspiracy, none of the undocumented aliens transported by Garcia, CC1, and CC2 carried luggage because they had just crossed the border from Mexico into the United States. To conceal their activity, Garcia, CC1, and CC2 routinely devised and employed knowingly false cover stories to provide to law enforcement if they were stopped during a transport. These false cover stories regularly involve the transportation of individuals, i.e., the undocumented aliens, for work such as a construction job. In 2021, as part of CC6's criminal activities in these international transports, CC6 was involved in the transportation of more than 150 migrants that ended when the tractor trailer carrying them overturned in Mexico, resulting in the death of more than 50 migrants and injuring many others. Garcia sometimes brought close relatives with him when he picked up undocumented aliens in Texas and transported them to other parts of the United States. On other occasions, he came alone. During some of the trips, Garcia operated when he did not bring a close relative. CC6 received reports from undocumented aliens that Garcia had abused some of the female undocumented aliens. Knowing this was bad for business, CC6 reported these allegations of abuse by Garcia to both CC1 and CC2, and CC6 directed CC1 and CC2 to cause Garcia to stop the abuse. Garcia, CC1, and CC2 routinely transported between 6 and 10 undocumented aliens per trip to maximize efficiency and profits. Over the course of the conspiracy, Garcia transported undocumented aliens who had entered the United States without an authorization on approximately more than 100 trips between Texas to Maryland and other states. Representative acts of the conspiracy. Transportation in Tennessee on or about the following dates as representative of the manner and means of the conspiracy. Garcia and his co-conspirators took and caused the following actions. On or about November 30th, 2022, a state trooper with the Tennessee Highway Patrol, THP, conducted a traffic stop on a Chevrolet Suburban on Interstate I-40 in Putnam County, Tennessee, outside of Cookeville, Tennessee, located in the Middle District of Tennessee. Other THP troopers subsequently responded to the scene of the traffic stop. The November 30th, 2022 traffic stop was captured on video by THP body-worn cameras. Garcia was the driver of the Suburban. There were 9 additional passengers in the Suburban, all of whom were Hispanic males and none of them whom had any identification. When asked where they were traveling from, Garcia knowingly and falsely told the state trooper he and the passengers were coming from St. Louis. He further knowingly and falsely stated to the state trooper that the Suburban passengers had been in St. Louis for 2 weeks doing construction. Garcia also offered that the passengers were on their way back to Maryland, which he also then knew to be false because the passengers had been picked up in Texas. Multiple passengers told the THP state troopers they were going to the same address in Maryland. The Suburban that Garcia was driving had an aftermarket third row of seats, place where a cargo area should be, which are occupied by undocumented passengers. None of the 9 undocumented passengers had any luggage, nor was there any tools or construction equipment in the Suburban. License plate reader LPR data, which can track a particular vehicle's location at a given point in time, showed that the Chevrolet Suburban Garcia was driving had not been near St. Louis in the past 12 months, and in fact had been in the Houston, Texas area within the week leading up to the traffic stop on November 30th, 2022. Garcia had $1,400 in cash in his pocket. Shortly after the traffic stop, Garcia informed other members of the conspiracy that he had been stopped by law enforcement in Tennessee, but that he had been released, all in violation of Title 8 United States Code sections 1324 A1A BI and 1324 A1B1, or excuse me, A1BI, count 2, 8 U.S. section 1324 A1A2, or II, whatever, unlawful transportation of undocumented aliens. The grand jury alleges paragraphs 1 through 7 and 10 through 30 of this indictment, and further alleges the following. On or about November 30th, 2022, in the Middle District of Tennessee and elsewhere, Garcia, aided and abetted by others known and unknown to the grand jury, did knowing and in reckless disregard of the fact that certain aliens had come to, entered, and remained in the United States in violation of law, did transport and move said aliens within the United States by means of transportation, otherwise in furtherance of such violation of law, with intent to further the unlawful presence of the aliens in the United States and for private financial gain, and did aid and abet the same, in violation of Title 8 United States Code 1324, this right here, and then whatever, and Title 18 United States Code Section 2, and then forfeiture allegation. The allegations contained in this indictment are re-alleged and incorporated by reference as if fully set forth in support of this forfeiture. Upon conviction of counts 1 or 2, Garcia shall forfeit to the United States pursuant to the Title 8 United States Code, Sections 1324B, and Title 18 United States Code, Section 981D, any conveyance, including any vessel, vehicle, or aircraft that was being used in the commission of the violation of count 1 or 2, the gross proceeds of such violation, and any property traceable in such conveyance of proceeds. A true bill, and there's a 4-person, and then Robert McGuire, acting United States Attorney, Middle District of Tennessee, and then Jacob Warren, Christopher Easton, co-directors, Joint Task Force, Vulcan, Jeremy I. Franker, and then Deputy Director, Joint Task Force, Vulcan, United States Department of Justice. Oh, anyway, this guy seems like a really great dude, doesn't he? I mean, and this is the darling of the Democrat Party. They went on, and now they're saying they never defended him. You saw all the stuff on X. But anyway, I mean, it's just like, what the heck? They hold up the criminal and then blame the victims. You see it all the time. It's the craziest thing. But anyway, I'll talk to y'all later. I'll put this in the descriptions. You can go back and read it if you are so inclined. But anyway, I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.